Shalom, Mr. First foremost, I give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Kakadash, the branch of the apostles, and Nels Great Millstone, for teaching us his true peace and blessings to the whole like Israel. Yahweh is the name of then for all in Hebrew. Ba'Shem is the name. Yahweh Shai is the name of the begotten Son. Back to the lesson, as he was in the title, breaking news. The U.S. strikes Venezuela. Now, I do have a couple videos and an article, to get to go into the situation at hand, and I'm having to re-record this lesson. I believe I was 10 minutes in, and then my phone just randomly resets or restarts. I don't know what it did, but that was Satan for you. But as you see right here, it says just in, Trump invades Venezuela. And I believe this post popped up after my lesson or my phone reset. So because the article that I have was pretty much trying to hide away who was attacking Venezuela. As you're gonna see right here, doesn't really say who did it. It's at least 7 explosions and low-flying aircraft are heard in Venezuela's Caracas, and you see how they're pretty much trying to keep it vague. But now, as you see right here, Trump invades Venezuela, ordering U.S. Special Forces boots on the ground to secure Venezuelan military facilities. And this right here is an act of war. Because you're also going to see how they struck. It says right here, breaking Miraflores Palace. The headquarters of the president of Venezuela has been struck in Caracas. So they're going straight for the head. And I also have various other videos to further go into the situation at hand. As you see, Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai is kicking the year off 2026 with a bang, as we have said through Spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, which I made it a point in the lesson going to the New Year's Eve of destruction. A few of my lessons had a little likes to ending or end the year off with a bang, as well as kick it off with a bang. And we're 3 days in to the year 2026, and look what's already happening. We are seeing the literal build up towards World War III. And really this past month, you've been seeing this situation with Venezuela, dealing with the tensions, continuing to rise. And now you're seeing this take place right here, which I'm going to play a couple of videos. I don't want to stall at the intro too long, but we're going to get these out the way, get a couple scriptures. That's what that really bit more into that article. But it says the U.S., reading this post right here, just in, the entire U.S. Air Force has disabled virtually all flight tracking transponders. And this was before, as we just read in the first post, where now they're saying, who did this attack and who's, doing these things right now. Because I believe I came across a comment where you had somebody say, this is, they're doing drills, they do this type of stuff when they're, doing test runs, or whatever the case may be. Convenient, huh? But so the entire U.S. Air Force has disabled virtually all flight tracking transponders. Ain't that convenient? And now you see, where's this post at? Right here. It says full-scale military operations appear to be underway against Venezuela, with dozens of helicopters with the U.S. Army spotted over the capital of Caracas. And you see various of these helicopters, flying over. So exciting times. We are quite literally, nearing the end of this movie. And we're in a time of war. What's in the Lord is stirring that pot. We are seeing what's in the literal build-up towards World War III. And this right here is an act of war. You're seeing all these helicopters flying over, and you're going to see the attacks that they especially do. This being one right here I was talking about. U.S. helicopters are pounding the Venezuelan military complex Fuerte Tijuana in Caracas. So you see, this is a clear-cut, targeted, planned-out attack. What is this? Is an act of war. And I believe I also came across another post where they targeted an airport. So that cuts off traveling. People pretty much unable to leave. Let's see if I missed anything else. This is also one right here. This is which I just read earlier, but I didn't get the video. It says Miraflores Palace, the headquarters of President of Venezuela, has been struck in Caracas.
Fuerte explosiones aquí en Miraflores. Estamos en la Plaza Oleari.
So once again, things are quite literally heating up. Let's see what these people have to say. Not really much, but I'm gonna click on this page real quick, see if there's anything. Nope. So Venezuela declares a state of emergency. It says President Colombia alert to the whole world, they have attacked Venezuela. They're bombing with missiles. So hey, things are heating up. But the Fox News pundit says the unconfirmed U.S. invasion of Venezuela is financial security against Hezbollah and Iran, as well as Russia and China. But that's the point I was trying to make earlier, how they pretty much, left it undisclosed as to who, attacked Venezuela, who's doing, these missile strikes and, all these helicopters, flying over. And he left it undisclosed and vague as to, who did it. But going a little bit more into this and then get these scriptures at hand. Because I wanted to make this, a little bit quick, going to what's in breaking news as to what's happening. And you're most definitely going to see retaliatory, attacks, be made. And it may have other nations get involved. Hey, the Lord is stirring that pot. Hey, we're in that time of war. But at least 7 explosions and low-flying aircraft are heard in Venezuela's Caracas, if I'm saying that correctly. But you saw within the various of those videos, those helicopters flying over, those missile strikes that are being sent out, military bases being targeted, the Venezuela president being targeted. And I believe I came across a post, which I had it when I was recording the lesson. Not the other lesson, but recording this lesson. Then it reset, but I had a post where, you had one of these airports, were targeted. So obviously, a planned out attack. And what's in it being really an act of war. Because these are, warlike tactics. You go for the president, which is probably, the head, gives the go-ahead and all this type of stuff. You're attacking the military, you're attacking the airports. I mean, come on. But let's continue on. So at least 7 explosions at low-flying aircraft were heard around 2 a.m. local time Saturday in Venezuela's capital, Caracas. Now, it was not to be clear what was behind the explosions, and there you go. That's why I was making those points earlier, how they kept it vague. But now you have it pretty much, confirmed as to, who it was. Which pretty much already was, confirmed as to, who it was, but they just kept it, somewhat under wraps. But the Venezuela's government, the Pentagon, and White House did not immediately respond to the request for comment. I mean, that should be, a clear sight a clear sign right there. In the other post that I got earlier, where you had, conveniently all these planes where the trackers were off. How convenient is that? But once again, that was all before it was pretty much confirmed it was the U.S. But it says smoke could be seen rising from the hangar of military base in Caracas, another military installation, and the capital was without power. As the people in various neighborhoods rushed to the streets, some could be seen in the distance from the various areas of Caracas. The whole ground shook. This horrible. We've heard explosions in planes, said Carmen Hidalgo, a 21-year-old office worker, her voice trembling. She was walking briskly with two relatives returning from a birthday party. Shouldn't even partake in that anyway, but we felt like the air was hitting us. And the Venezuela state television did not interrupt its programming and aired a report on Venezuelan music and art. So this is pretty much all the up-to-date information you may see. These attacks continue to go out, and just obviously more information come out. As this day goes by. Because this is 2 a.m. But the Revelation 11 and 14 that says the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe comes quickly. Now, that second woe is past. Speaking of that second world war, and that third woe, speaking of that third world war. And it says it cometh quickly, it's approaching, and it's approaching fast. As I made the point earlier, the Lord is stirring that pot between these nations. This is Joel 3 and 9 through 11. And it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Be your plashes into the swords, and your prunings to the spear, let the weak say, I am strong. And now you're going to have these nations begin to stand up against Babylon the Great. As you had Iran, and which you're most definitely going to see some form of retaliation definitely be made. Now verse 11, and make it to the point where you may see allied nations get involved, and what you've been seeing this past month. This Venezuela situation, those tensions rising. You also been seeing the Israel and Iran situation. You had that get to a point where you had the U.S. get involved. And it's also the scripture going to at least the flock shall draw them out. So wait, the Lord is stirring that pot between these nations all in order to reach that breaking point, which is going to be World War III. Now, so assemble yourselves and come all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. And thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. But now let's get the rest of these scriptures, and that'll be the point. Matthew 24 and 6, and it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. And if you get the third verse, it goes into what should be a sign of thy coming and of the end of the world. This right here being a telltale sign that we're nearing the end of this place, and we're nearing our Lord Yahweh's return. So there is a reason why you're seeing these things happening and taking places, because it's due to the power of Yahweh Bashim Shai. So we are in some very exciting times. And especially to show the importance of having this wisdom, this knowledge, and understanding, because people are most definitely going to see these things and panic, freaking out. And we've been especially saying, start with the apostles and others that are of their great millstone, through this power of Yahweh Bashim Shai. These it's like the drafts. The draft was coming back. And people called us crazy. People mocked. People scoffed. And look what's happening. But Ecclesiastes chapter 3, in which there's no coincidence, that you have the Department of Defense, be renamed to the Department of War. There's Ecclesiastes 3, and it says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heavens. There's a time and place for everything. Now let's jump to verse 8, which is the main point I want. And this is a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And we're clearly not in a time of peace and a time of love. We're in a time of war. As you clearly seen within those videos. Now the Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3, it says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end shall speak and not lie, they would tarry, wait for it, because they come, it will not tarry," meaning it will not delay. And hey, we're in those appointed times as written and spoken within the scriptures. We are nearing the end of this place. 2 1. And the main point I want, this is just speak too fast, Salakia. It's just verse 1. "He answered me then and said, Measure thou time diligently in itself, and when thou see parts lines pass, which I told you before." And now go back to the top of the verse, it says, "Measure thou time diligently in itself." Now, how do we do that? By the way, these signs and these prophecies, and guess what? We are nearing the end of this devil's kingdom. It's crystal clear. And we're nearing the climax of this movie. When you are seeing the literal steps being taken towards World War III. We are 3 days into the year 2026. And you're already seeing things popping off and taking place, as we've said, of what would happen. Not in terms of, knowing the U.S. was going to strike Venezuela, this exact day, but just going back to that point of the Lord kicking the year off with a bang, as the Lord is known to do. Because being at a point in the New Year's Eve of Destruction lesson, and we've also a few lessons I brought up that point, as well as other brothers have made that point also, going to the Lord ending and kicking things off with a bang. And you're seeing this taking place. The Lord is turning things up. He's hastening the days. And you saw within in those various views we got. Ain't no time to be lollygagging and playing around. You have little missiles being sent out. The military base is being targeted. You have the Venezuela president being targeted. Which is an act of war. So we're obviously going to see how this further plays out. Whether you have other nations step in, get involved. We have to exactly see. Doing the exact intricacies of how everything will play out. But that main point, going to the build up towards World War III. And we're seeing it. But like I said, I don't want to start the lesson too long. Lord's what tight points together is my ability. Like I said, I was 10 plus minutes in on my lesson, going into this already. So Lord's why tight points together best of my ability once again, and Lord's was edifying. Because when this is heavy news, breaking news. Okay, the Lord's turned things up at a completely different level. I was trying to find another word. Shifting things to a whole nother gear. 3 days in, and you're seeing this happening. So, hey, it's finna get hectic out here. So, I do close out. Give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bashim, Shabashim, Dash, and Shalom. See you next one. Lord's will.